Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-aliyyil azim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen wa sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Abil Qasim al-Mustafa Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin la siyama baqiyatillah fil aradin ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif wa ja'alana min a'wanihi wa ansarihi. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to be here for the fourth majlis for Imam Hussein alayhi salam at the Imam Hussein Foundation, and we are grateful to Allah for this opportunity, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from everyone in this majlis or any majlis in any part of the world. We said that love or mahabba, which if it is very strong it is called ishq, is a matter of us understanding something or someone, be pleasant, be suitable. And we talked about the element of ma'rifah, and we said that if there is more ma'rifah, even the same thing, but with more ma'rifah you can enjoy it more. Or on the other hand, if something is unpleasant, if something is harmful, if you know this in a clearer and a stronger way, the pain is more. So people, depending on their level of understanding, from good things they get more pleasure, from bad things they get more pain. Therefore, for example, if we look at the situation in the world, if someone doesn't know all the tragedies in the world, would not have any pain. If someone knows the tragedies in the world to some extent, he would get also pain to some extent. But if someone knows all the tragedies in the world, with all the details, you know how much pain he gets. And you can imagine the condition of Imam Zaman Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. How much he suffers for every tragedy, every injustice, every difficulty that people go through. We have hadith from Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam that he says, we become happy when you are happy. We become sad when you are sad. Even he says, "Enna namaradu lemaradakum." If you are ill, we become ill. Imam feels with his heart all the pain of people. Not only Shia, all people, because they are Imam lil-Nas. Allah said to Ibrahim, "Inni ja'iluka lil-Nas Imam." Of course, they have closer relation with their Shia. Thank you very much. Suffering of the Shia would make them more sad. But any person who has problem, any child who becomes orphan, they have this pain. So the amount of the pain that they have, or Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif has today, we cannot understand, let alone we cannot, bear it. We read these days on newspapers, we hear, the news from TVs, etc., about tragedies in the world. Right now, we are very concerned about what is happening in Afghanistan. Allah knows how many families are being displaced, how many people lose their fathers, their sons, etc. We hear and we are very sad, but Allah knows how much Imam Mahdi is sad. So, depending on the level of ma'rifah, your pleasure or pain or your love and dislike would intensify. And also depending on that thing, if that thing is, better, pleasure is getting more. If something, for example, is bad, the pain gets more. Sometimes people mistakenly think that something is good and they get pleasure. This is the power of your judgment. Because we said, when you understand that something is good and pleasant, you get pleasure and you love it. This can happen even by mistake. Sometimes we think something is pleasant for us, useful for us, beneficial for us. We love it because of the way we judge it. And in reality, it can be wrong. This is a very important point. I don't know if we get chance to talk about this, but this is my idea that when I was, doing my PhD, this was one of my, ideas that I developed. That in my understanding, no human beings would go for something which is bad as such. If they go for something, they think this is good. In other words, we don't have any desire for things which are by themselves bad. We think that they are good, then we do it. For example, a teenager likes to smoke cigarette, maybe, because he thinks that, a smoking cigarette gives him some prestige, some respect, is a sign of becoming a man. Or even sometimes, for example, people may think that, for example, if I do this, it gives me some peace, some comfort. Maybe I can, reduce my stress, etc. So when people judge or think that something is good, they do it. In reality, maybe this was not good. But reality is not known to people all the time. We have an assessment of reality. If our assessment is correct, then what we like and what is useful for us would be the same. If we have wrong assessment, what we like can be actually harmful for us. It's a very important point. This goes even to the level of worshipping idols. Why some people worship idols? Why some people worship money, worship power, position? Because they think through this they get more perfection. They would be better off with this. mistakenly they think that this would connect them to the absolute perfection, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, many Muslim mystics and philosophers have said that no one has ever worshipped anyone other than God. How? You may say, we know there are people who worship idols. How you say no one has ever worshipped anyone other than God? There are people who worship, I don't know, money, I don't know, sex, etc. They say they are after absolute perfection, absolute beauty. Mistakenly, they think this is giving them that. So they are looking for God, but they look in wrong places. Ibn Arabi says also about not only worship, but love. He says, if someone loves, he mentions the example of Zainab and Su'ad, two names for ladies in Arabic. He says, if someone has loved Zainab or Su'ad, indeed has not loved Zainab and Su'ad, has loved God. If someone is really in love, that person mistakenly thinks that what he can only get from God can get it from this beloved. Therefore they call this ishq majazi. This is untrue love. It is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for the sake of Allah that you can get real love. And the test for this is this. Maybe you say, no, we can love also a human being independently. Okay, the test is this. If the person that you love a lot, independent from God and independent from objective intellectual reasons, if that person that you love a lot, you manage to meet him and live with him, is your love going to remain the same? Sometimes there are, youths who say, I have to marry this person. Without this person, I'm not going to be able to continue my life. I'm going to die. Even some people threaten, I'm going to kill myself if I don't marry this person. If they marry after a few months, many times you see problems are there. Dispute, fighting, and sometimes divorce. Because that was not a genuine love. That was a mistaken love. And what kills love which is not genuine is to meet the beloved. Because then you realize that, it was just ordinary. Indeed, what you loved was your false imagination. Allah knows how much we suffer because of the work of our imagination, khiyal. Sometimes people, because of imagination, fall in love, or because of imagination, hate. Sometimes people kill others for imagination. Sometimes people boycott each other because of all khayal, imagination, wrong imagination. So, if someone really loves something or someone, after meeting, the love should increase. If the love doesn't increase or stops or turns into dislike, this was not real love. Even sometimes Good people are loved not in a genuine way. So I want to go one step further. I was talking about people who love bad things. I am saying even those who love good people is not always genuine. For example, if we love a great alim, our marja, for example, a godly scholar like Allama Tabatabai, for example, if we love them, when we get tawfiq to be with him, after a few days, are you going to love him more, or it's going to be ordinary? For example, if say that Allama Tabatabai has come to London, we say we must go and see him. The first day we may go, the second day. After a few days, Allama would remain alone. No one is going to ask about him. I heard from one of ulama, I don't want to mention details, but I think you can identify, that the late Ayatollah al-Uzma Gul Paigani, rahmatullah alayhi, one of our great maraj, had come to London for Shifa, and he was leading Salatul Jama'ah, Zuhr, Maghrib. Only very few people were going. This shows that we think that we love these people. Many people think, we love Imam al-Zaman. We are happy to go to Jamkaran or Masjid al-Sahle 40 weeks. For example, 40, Tuesday night, evening of Wednesday, to see Imam al-Zaman. Okay. But how many of these people, if they can see Imam al-Zaman every day, would remain the same? Full of, love and passion. One of ulama was saying something very moving. He said, many of people who, say we love Imam al-Zaman, when Imam al-Zaman comes, there is worry that maybe after a few days, they would sit relaxed in front of Imam al-Zaman, and maybe after a few more days, even they stretch their legs in front of Imam al-Zaman. Why? Because this was not based on real understanding. This was based on their imagination. They thought they love Imam al-Zaman, but they didn't love. If you love Imam al-Zaman, when you meet him, your love must increase because your ma'rifah of him is going to increase. Imam al-Zaman is not someone that is not as he is described. Being with him must make you more aware of his good qualities, so your love must increase. So, many times we love because we think that thing has a kind of perfection. We can be mistaken. And sometimes that thing really has perfection, but we are mistaken about our reason for love. For some people, it has become like a kind of adventure. When no one can see Imam al-Zaman, if I can see him, how great it would be. If, for example, something is exclusive, if something is not available to everyone, people are very interested. But if something becomes public, they take it for granted. So, the reason for love is understanding something to be with the qualities that you want, you find suitable. This understanding can be mistaken, but still it produces attraction and love in you, but that is not a genuine love. That is not enduring love. Now, the next question is that Ghazali and Mullah Muhsin Faith Kashani mentioned, is that every sense has its own way of getting pleasure, and therefore they would lead to their own way of loving or dislike. For example, if I see with my eyes something beautiful, either a person who is beautiful or beautiful flower, beautiful sceneries, anything which is beautiful, I get some pleasure. This pleasure that I get from that thing or that person would make me love that thing or that person. But the pleasure is only remaining with my eyes, although my soul is understanding the pleasure, but it is through my sense of sight. If there is a beautiful voice or sound, for example, when it's raining, when birds are singing, or when someone who has beautiful voice is singing or reciting, when a child is laughing, these sounds and voices give us pleasure. What understands this pleasure? Our sense of hearing. And then because of that, we love that thing. But this love is limited to our hearing. The same is with smelling. If something has beautiful fragrance, the same is with touching, tasting. But then Ghazali and Mullah Muhsin Faith say, we have another sense. You may call it, they say you may call it aql, you may call it qalb, you may call it nur. We are not right now bothering that much about the name. But we have anyway another way of understanding apart from these five senses, by which we understand some ideas, some meanings, or some beings which are not physical or material to be with some qualities that we love. And the best example for this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our understanding of Allah, which gives us pleasure, which gives true believers pleasure, to the extent that Quran says, إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. This is not through my eyes or my ears or my skin. It's much more than that. The pleasures and therefore the love that is created by five senses is shared by animals. Animals also can taste something delicious for them and enjoy it and love it. Animals can see something and would be attracted. But it is human beings who can have something other than what is perceived by five senses that they would not only appreciate, they would love. It would give them a strongest pleasure, a strongest satisfaction. Actually, if we don't reach this point, we have not developed our humanity. If we are just operating at the level that is common between us and animals, it means that we have not developed our humanity. If you want to see how much a person has developed his humanity, to what degree, to what extent someone is a true human being, see what types of pleasures and pains they have in their life. Make a list, make a survey. If some people, we make a list of what gives them pleasure and pain, you see, all of it is related directly or indirectly to either a matter of not being able to taste or being able to taste something which they like or dislike, seeing, hearing, touching, etc. How much they have concern for human ideals which are exclusive, how much they are concerned about justice, about peace, about solidarity, about love, about science, about wisdom. This can tell you how much a person has become a human being. And unfortunately, not everyone, and not maybe most of people, they have reached this level that for them the greatest concerns, the greatest interests, the greatest worries are above animal level, above five senses. So what we have to do if we want to develop love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to train ourselves to go above these ordinary pleasures and pains, these things that we can just see and hear and touch and taste and smell. The next question, which is very important, and it takes at least one more session, I just mentioned, and tomorrow inshallah we'll discuss, is, are we able, this is a very important actually question in moral philosophy, but they have also raised it here. Are we able to love something for its own sake, or everything that we love is for self-love, what we call hubbud dhat? It's a very important question. Some people have said, many actually philosophers even have said, even many Muslim thinkers have said, that whatever we love is because in the end of the day we know it benefits us. They said even a father, a mother who sacrifices his or her comfort for the children, it's because if they don't do this, they feel bad, they feel terrible, and if they do this, they feel happy. So they want to say even a mother or father, because of self-love, because of hubbud dhat, they look after their children. Or for example, if someone gives his life for his people, for his nation, for his country, even for God, they say it's because they think by giving their life they get, for example, praise of people, or the great, get the reward of God or heaven. So they want to gain something for themselves. This is the idea of some thinkers. But the right idea, which was interesting for me, that Ghazali and Mullah Mohsen Faiz also have mentioned, because I also had this idea for 20 years, is that Allah has created human beings with the ability to love things that may not benefit them, just for the sake of finding some quality in them. Unlike what they say, we think that no, mothers, fathers can really have genuine love for their children, not because if they don't show love they feel bad, they just don't want to feel bad, they do this, or they get pleasure of sacrificing their own comfort for them. No, a mother who offers her life, her health, let alone comfort and convenience, is not calculating in her mind even in her unconscious mind, she is not thinking that, what I'm going to gain and what I'm going to lose. This is a very important discussion, and inshallah we will discuss this, and we will mention that there are different ways that we may love something, and it's not just because something is benefiting us or giving us direct pleasure. Today was the 3rd of Muharram, and as you remember, we said that Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the 2nd of Muharram arrived in Karbala. Today, Imam alayhi salam sent a letter to the people of Kufa, because we said that Imam said, this is our final station. They are not going to go anywhere, and this is where they are going to stay, and this is where they are going to be receiving the martyrdom. So, as a way to inform people of Kufa, Imam wrote a letter and sent it with Qais ibn Musahhar, Saydawi, to inform the people of the Kufa of the situation, and also in order not to leave any chance for someone said, we were happy to come, we were happy to fulfill our promises, but we didn't know what is happening. Unfortunately, Qais was stopped before even reaching Kufa by agents of Ibn Ziyad, and they killed him. So the message was not able to be delivered by him. Maybe they received the news, but he, the envoy, the messenger of Imam, couldn't reach. Also today, Umar Saad arrived in Karbala. So up to today, for few days before coming Karbala, and one day in Karbala, it was Imam's camp and Hurr and his army. A small group of men, women, children, and soldiers under command of Hurr. But today, Omar Saad also arrived with many, many soldiers. And it is interesting that how this Omar Saad and his father missed great opportunities, both of them. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas was one of the companions of the Prophet and was respected. But unfortunately, he had some issue with Amirul Mu'mineen. And even in this council that the second caliph had formed, this, 6 people that he said, they would decide about who would be the third caliph, he didn't vote for Imam Ali. He voted for Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. One day, Amirul Mu'mineen, later when he became Khalifa, he said, Saluni qabla an tafqiduni. This Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, a companion of the Prophet that had to appreciate this, instead of appreciating, he asked, Oh Ali, tell me how many pieces of hair are on my head. Look at this. Such a childish, question. Ask Amirul Mu'mineen about secrets of world, about things that can help your generation, even future generations. If you don't know what to ask, at least tell Amirul Mu'mineen, please teach us what is useful for us. And he says, how many hairs are there? Imam Ali alayhi salam said that the Prophet said that under every piece of your hair is a shaitan. And he said, in your home there is a son, there's a child that is going to kill my son. If Imam had told the number of the pieces of hair, no one could check it. But the information that he gave, the prediction that he said, everyone found it true. Umar the son of Sa'd, in the time of Khilafah of Amirul Mu'mineen, was very young, just a child, playing. Therefore, some people said, maybe he was just 25 years old. Some people said maybe 36 years old. He was not that old. He was not that, experienced. And Ibn Ziyad just used him because of, in my understanding, because of the position of his father. Because, as I said, his father was one of the companions of the Prophet. He was involved during the caliphs in some of the conquests, like conquest of, for example, Iran. So, because of this, he said that I am going to give you the reign, the governance of Ray. And when this issue of coming of Imam Hussein happened, said, your way to Ray, go through Karbala. You have to finish this issue and then you go to Ray. He said, please exempt me. He said, okay, if I exempt you, then I don't give you governance of Ray. He said, let me think for one day. When there is such a thing like killing the son of the Prophet, like any innocent person, let alone Imam Hussein alayhi salam, why you need to think? When haram is offered to us, why we need to think? I'm not saying why we need to jump on haram. Unfortunately, some people, as soon as there is an offer, they jump. Some people who are mu'min, they want to take their time, find a way, a loophole, to do it, and somehow not feel guilty. But the best thing is when something is haram, leave it. Don't think about it. If you take one day, it means you are giving shaitan one day to mobilize his people and deceive you. So unfortunately, the next day he accepted. Look at this person. You are just some 20 years old or some 30 years old. Every honor that your family has is because of just being with the Prophet. And now you accept to kill the grandson of the Prophet and grandchildren of the Prophet? How much we human beings can suffer even in our understanding when we love dunya. Hubbud dunya ra'su kull khati'ah. This is what Rasulullah said. This is not what any person said, ordinary person, any thinker, any philosopher. This is hadith. Hubbud dunya ra'su kull khati'ah. But my problem, and maybe your problem, is that we think we are, clever. Yes, hubbud dunya is very destructive, but not for me. I know how to have dunya and go for dunya and work for dunya and protect myself. No, if there was any protection, prophets and imams and awliyaullah would have used that protection. They say there is no way to have hubbud dunya and hubbullah. It's impossible. So unfortunately, he went. He thought he's clever, he's going to find a way to bring peace, maybe to avoid killing, but just he went further and further in, he was sinking more inside the problem. Ibn Ziyad didn't accept any of his suggestions and proposals for peaceful solution. and finally he was involved in the killing of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is a great lesson for us. Normally in the night of the 3rd or the day of the 3rd, so because today was the day of 3rd, so I would have a tawassul to Lady Ruqayya, and inshallah we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of all children of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, especially this little innocent girl of Abu Abdullah, to have attention on us and to protect all children all over the world, especially innocent children now in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifanaik alayka minni salamullah أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وقتش رسیده خوب نگاهت کنم پدر. The poet is describing the conversation between Lady Ruqayya and Imam Hussein when in Damascus they brought the head of Imam Hussein. وقتش رسید خوب نگاهت کنم پدر، از این همه فراق حکایت کنم پدر. The time has come to look at you. It's the time that I can now complain to you about what happened after you left us. بعد از تمام خون جگرها که خوردم، حالا اجازه هست شکایت کنم پدر. After all the suffering and pain, and after being denied opportunity to cry and complain by enemies, now I have permission to complain to you. ما هم چقدر حالت رویت عوض شده. She was not used to see the face of Imam Hussein in this condition. I don't think any of us can imagine what happened to the head of Imam Hussein, from being put in the oven and then all the way. ما هم چقدر حالت رویت عوض شده. باید به شکل تازه‌ات عادت کنم پدر. my beautiful moon, my beautiful dad, why your face has so much changed? How can I get used to this shape and this appearance? از این به بعد اسم تو باشد ذریح زخم. آخر چقدر زخم زیارت کنم پدر. Why so many injuries are on your face? How many injuries I'm going to count on your face and see? صدها کتاب شرح سفرنامه هم شده. از کی کجا چگونه روایت کنم پدر. I have enough to say that can fill 100 volumes of travel journey. From where I can start? Shall I tell you what happened to us in Karbala? Shall I tell you what happened in Kufa, the streets of Kufa? Shall I tell you what happened on the way from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Damascus? Shall I tell you what happened to us when we arrived in Damascus and they were celebrating? What can I say to you, my father? بالای نیزه بودی و دستم نمیرسید. یعنی نشد که از تو حمایت کنم پدر. They put the heads of martyrs on his spears, and she says, my father, I was not able to reach your head. I was short. I was not able to come and support you. بوسید دختری پدرش را دلم شکست. حقم نبود که تا حسادت کنم پدر. I saw a daughter kissing her father and a father kissing his daughter. My heart was broken. I envied that daughter. امشب مرددم که ببوسم لب تو را، اما نه بهتر است رعایت کنم پدر. Now it's my turn to kiss you, but it's better if I don't kiss you because there are other children of martyrs here. They cannot kiss their fathers. دست توسلم به دل خون امن است. میخواهم آرزوی شهادت کنم پدر. My dear father, I want to ask God to give me martyrdom. I don't want to be in this world. I don't want to be separate from you. And as you know, she passed away very quickly after this conversation. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Oh Allah, please send the best of your salutations to Muhammad and all Muhammad. Please include us among true mourners of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Please give us ma'rifah and mahabba of yourself and your awliya. Please give us tawfiq, give us success to live a life that would look like the life of followers of Hussein. Please shine from the light of Hussein on every aspect of our life. Please shine from the light of Hussein on our children and our progeny. Oh Allah, please send your rahmah and maghfirah to all mu'mineen and mu'minat, especially those who have rights upon us. Please bless our parents who are alive with health and joy and dignity. And those parents who have passed away, please be very generous with them, very forgiving, very kind, and please them on our behalf. Oh Allah, right now there are many people who are ill, many people who suffer. Every day, thousands of people all over the world are dying because of COVID. In this night, in this Muharram, we join our dua with millions of mourners of Abu Abdullah and beg you, please eradicate this COVID from all over the world for all future, so that it would never come. Also, there are many people who are right now living under fear of war and terror. Our brothers and sisters in many places in the world, but right now especially I am very concerned about Afghanistan, because God knows what tragedy is waiting for us. Please help the leaders, the commanders, the people who have influence to know their responsibilities and guide their decisions. And please unite the nation of Afghanistan under the banner of truth. Their suffering has been more than enough after decades of war and suffering. Please grant them with your mercy, with your intervention. Please grant them peace, grant them unity, and save them from a domestic war. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen.